Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I only got two. All right, first impression's kind of dumb, but I like it. This is my impression. You ready? This is my impression of the founding fathers of America when the Constitution was being written. You ready? Here it goes. Hurry up and finish that Constitution. I'm trying to get some sleep.
I love Chappelle. I do. I love Chappelle. Always have. Right? Always have. We live in this world now where it is so amazing how you can like something on Facebook, even on accident, or Twitter, retweet something. You can do certain things and you will pay a price for it. People are sick and tired of it. People on the right, people on the left. By the way, most Democrats, I'm not talking about uber progressives, that live in a world of identity politics and that everything is defined based on the color of your skin, what you identify as, whatever it is. I'm talking about just run-of-the-mill, everyday Democrats going to work, union members, whatever it is. They're sick and tired of walking on eggshells. So last night, flipping around and prepping for the show today, and I read this thing from Vice. You can definitely skip Dave Chappelle's new Netflix special, Sticks and Stones. The comedian doubles down on misogyny and transphobia in both the special and the hidden bonus scenes. What? The special takes the comic's anti-wokeness shtick to a new level. The whole thing is repetitive and exhausting enough that it's a slog to even make it through the Q&As. Right? And then it doubles down on all kinds of stuff that he says about who hates him the most, which I think is so funny. I think it's so funny. He said, Chappelle talks about who hates him, right? And he talks about trans people, how much they hate him, right? How mad they are at him, right? And he said, he asked, he does a Q&A on this one. He says, this time the jokes include asking audience how funny it would be if he was actually a Chinese person. So he's talking about whether or not he could be trans global, if you will. And then he does as a racist impression of a Chinese person. Well, why is it a racist impression of a Chinese? Well, because why? Because that's how somebody would talk, right? There's probably not a lot of black or white Chinese people out there. And if that's the accent, if somebody in China was a comic and they were doing an accent of an American, right? We don't know what kind of, just an American. People would be like, would you be outraged? No, hell no, you wouldn't be outraged, right? It's like, it is what it is. But it's so funny, right? Because of the wokeness. And here we are in this politically correct woke world. We're going to come hard. We're going to do all of these things. We're going to condemn you for stuff. And the beauty of what he does, and like a lot of other comics out there, he doesn't care. He doesn't. He does him. And I think a lot of these people who write stuff like this on Vice and elsewhere are flabbergasted, if you will, that people would actually go and like stuff like this. You want to know why? Because we actually give a rat's ass about other people. Not because of we're checking the boxes of how diverse our friends are or our acquaintances are, but because we actually care about who they are. And if we care about who they are, we can laugh at each other. We can have fun with the stereotypes. And at the same time, we can actually get to know somebody based on what's inside, not all of the other crap that so many people want. He continues.
I want to see if you can guess who it is I'm doing an impression of. Duh. Hey, duh. If you do anything wrong in your life, duh, and I find out about it, I'm going to try to take everything away from you. And I don't care when I find out. Could be today, tomorrow, 15, 20 years from now. If I find out, you're finished. Who's that? That's you. That's what the audience sounds like to me. That's why I don't be coming out doing comedy all the time, because y'all is the worst I've ever tried to entertain in my life.
I love it. What is he saying? Essentially, you can't do anything. Can't say anything. They're coming for you. Whoever they are, they're coming for you. Everybody's looking for that misstep in your life. That tweet you thought was funny in your head, But you put it out there and you didn't think anything of it. And lo and behold, 3, 4, 5 years later, what? You're condemned. You're condemned. And the thing about comics that's great is comics don't care, right? They've spent their life being on stage, going through the toughest thing in the world, which is to stand up in front of people and to try to make them laugh. You ask any entertainer, getting up and singing's not hard comparatively to this. But I love it. And he's right. There's a reason comedy is exploding, because people want to go to comedy clubs and they want to walk in a place where, hey, you know what? We're here to have fun. We're not here to judge anybody. We're here to goof around, to have fun, and to laugh. We are. And to turn around and walk out the door. But now people are going to clubs, and what are they trying to do? They're trying to judge everything. It's so funny. You know, people are talking about, well, you know, you should, if you laugh at that, does that mean that you believe in that? Well, is that any different that if Bill Maher says something about David Koch dying and hoping the end of his life was painful, that you're clapping because you enjoy cancer and you hope people who don't have your belief die a horrible pain death? Maybe. So stupid. This is why we can't have nice things. This is why. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Yesterday, massive deal in Oklahoma with Johnson & Johnson. $572 million because of the opioid crisis. Get ready for this. This is insane. Since 2000, in Oklahoma alone, 6,000 deaths that they can attribute. 326 million pills were dispensed in 2015 alone. That's 110 per person. Is that insane? That is insane. 18 million prescriptions between 2015 and 2018 in Oklahoma. And listen to this. This is today on Morning Joe. Somebody was asking their AG, Mike Hunter, about something that was said inside the trial about pseudo diagnose. It is shocking.
Perhaps the most astonishing and saddest sentence in the entire opinion by the judge is essentially this one. It's that the defendants apparently used a phrase called pseudo addiction, and pseudo means something that is essentially false, to convince doctors that patients who exhibited signs of addiction were not suffering from addiction, but instead were suffering from undertreatment of their pain, and the fix for that was more opiates. Candidly, I think this should be the leading line in every interview you give. This is the saddest sentence in the entire opinion.
Yeah. So you have a pseudo addiction to opioids. We're pushing this on the doctors. Right? The doctors are gladly prescribing them. And if somebody comes in and is worried about that, it's because they're not dealing with their pain. So they have a pseudo addiction and they're worried. Don't worry. Just continue to do what you do. That's insane. That's insane. And it is nuts. And I'm telling you guys right now, we could see large pharmaceutical companies that Johnson & Johnson, many others, potentially looking at a world where they're going to go bankrupt because of the amount of lawsuits. This is going to be in courts for such a long time. And now Oklahoma has given a roadmap to other states that are dealing with this same problem on how to go about and win. The settlements are going to be huge. Johnson & Johnson is appealing this, and this is probably going to take, they say, a couple of years before they get through this. But eventually, they're probably going to have to pony up. 2 other companies have already done that and settled. Johnson & Johnson, I think, will follow. And then the question was asked to A.G. Hunter, what about the money when it comes in? What are you guys going to do with it?
Well, most of the money will be principally dedicated to dealing with counseling, rehabilitation, and treatment for, again, what we estimate is around 100,000 Oklahomans who, as a result of this overprescribing, have become addicted to opioids in many different forms. There's also money that will be made available for education and prevention and law enforcement. So the judge has done a good job in ensuring that we're dealing with from A to Z all the different ways that we need to, again, abate the epidemic in Oklahoma.
We'll see. We will see. We'll see if that takes place or not. It's going to be very interesting to see what can be done in some of these states where they're ravaged. They say right now about 100,000 people in Oklahoma have some sort of addiction to prescribed drugs and opioids. That's frightening. That is absolutely frightening. We are a consumer-based nation, and we consume the hell out of these things. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Hope you're doing well. There's a new study out, which I find very interesting, about the presidents and their age. So the people running for president and the president himself, are they too old? Half of Americans feel Trump, Biden, and Sanders are too old. I might put Elizabeth Warren. People don't know she's 70 to be president. They say the ideal age is 48. So what do you think? Are they too old? 20% right now say yes. 25% say no. And 55% says depend on the health, meaning your mind, if you're sharp. I mean, there are people that are in their 50s who struggle with certain things. And Biden, I know, is feeling a lot of this stuff right now as people are questioning whether or not he's all there. And then there are people that are in their 70s and 80s, and they look like they've got it going on, and they look to be just motoring along and doing stuff. And Biden he's even answering questions about this.
I just spoke at Dartmouth on health care at the medical school, or not, I guess I wasn't actually on the campus, but the people from the medical school were at there. I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts. I'm not sure whether it was a medical school or where the hell I spoke, but it was on the campus. It was on the campus, and the dean of all of that.
People are asking questions, right? Because he feels a little discombobulated. But if you go back and look at him through his years, it kind of feels like it's the same old same, because he was always kind of that way. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. MyPillow is amazing. They've been incredible. You guys have been buying MyPillows, and it's just great the way you support the show. Well, guess what? Mike Lindell is doing something amazing for everybody out there. Go to MyPillow.com and take advantage of the great discounts that are out there and available. And these discounts have never been offered before. You just click on the radio listener special, and you're going to save up to 50% on MyPillows, mattress toppers, bed sheets, and so much more. It is incredible. You can call 800-983-4975 also to receive the same savings. Make sure you use code Benson in everything you do there. Now, here's the big thing. They've got this huge body pillow. Normally it's $90. Right now, $29.99 with promo code Benson. 60-day money-back guarantee, a 10-year warranty. Go to MyPillow.com, MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener special. Use the promo code Benson or call 800-983-4975. You're going to save up to 50%, including that body pillow for $29.99. Enter promo code Benson. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
I, you, he, she, it. Lucy is a girl.
Point of personal privilege. Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Shut up, boo. Ain't nobody got time for this.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
So he just texts in and say, I don't agree with you, Chad. Comedy can be weaponized. People need to just relax, take a deep breath. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to laugh. It is, right? It is. It's okay to laugh, right? I don't think Dave Chappelle is an evil human being, right? Or Bill Burr. Or it's okay to go out and to laugh and to be humble and laugh at yourself, right? It is okay. And the more that we can do that, you want to find people that are well-adjusted. You want to find people that are, if you're willing to be humble and to be able to laugh at yourself, to me, that's one of the biggest strengths out there. And all too often anymore, we take everything so serious. And all too often, too, right? It's people that aren't, quote unquote, the butt of the joke, that stand up for other people, and other people are looking at you. You need to fight my battles for me. It's okay. We can laugh. We can have fun. You can make fun of me all day. I'm good with that. I'm okay with that. Right? Because I know me. But for whatever reason, we've lost our sense of humor, which founding fathers should have saw this coming. We've lost our sense of humor. I don't know how we get it back. I don't. Somebody just texted in and says, Chad, with opioids and what's going on in Oklahoma and the $572 million judgment, and is this going to make prescriptions more expensive? Yeah, and here's the other thing. From what I hear, certain companies are saying, well, we're not going to, in certain states, you're not going to have a chance to get certain drugs anymore. So here's the problem with the addiction of opioids is there is also the other side of it where it is needed. It is a pain relief. It does actually work. It's been abused. It's been overprescribed. But at the same time, it does work and it is needed. Now, I've said all along in the battle of the addiction side of things, we need to figure out how we go and address pain management in this country. We need to look everywhere. We need to look globally, right? We need to be all over the world looking what's the best way to deal with pain management. Because the better we can deal with pain management, the less that there's going to be stuff like this out there. In saying that, right, we want something quick, right? We do. We want something quick. We want the quick fix. We want the pill that's going to, make it so the pain goes away. We want the 3-minute abs. We want fast. And that's what opioid have given us. The opportunity to have, get rid of this pain. Boom. The dark side was, and continues to be, the addiction side. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So, America, are we still great? We're going to talk about that because the New York Times in early July did a 5-minute thing about America, and somebody's answered back because like everything else in this world, a lot of times people only want to give their score, not the entire score. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I'm not going to be on the debate stage next month, but I got to be honest. The DNC process is stifling debate at a time when we need it most.
I know these DNC debate rules have kind of turned this primary into the Hunger Games. Like each step of this seems to be all about getting donors.
We're rewarding celebrity candidates with millions of Twitter followers, billionaires who buy their way onto the debate stage, and candidates who have been running for president for years.
Michael Bennett right there, bummed he's not going to be on stage. You have till tomorrow to try to qualify. Right now there's only 10. Based on that, it's only going to be one night. So we'll see what happens. But they got one day. You got one day to get your ass on that stage. You better figure it out. They're desperate. I think Tom Steyer's close. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen. Right? Like CNN's giving them all a town hall anyways, right? Like, is it September 4th? They're going to give them all like 12 straight hours of these people. So, but as far as the debate, and you learn more at town halls and those things than you do on the debate stage. It's kind of, if you think about it, honestly, it's a really wonky thing. The debate stage. It's kind of, it's not really solving anything. Hey, you've got a finite time. You have to make your elevator pitch on this. And these are handpicked, and we're going to go from there. And very rarely do they. And unless you get a really good moderator who is going to be able to think on their feet quick enough to answer, to ask the second question, which will be the one that you really want to hear. Unless that happens, Again, it's kind of an archaic, stupid thing we do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So the Times last month came out with this thing about America and whether or not we're any good, and the usual stuff, right? That's what the Times does. It's funny. So it was pretty funny what they did. It's like a 5-minute thing talking about, we're not really that great, and the usual stuff that you would get, because we have this really bizarre world that we live in now where we self-loathe, right? We have this hatred for. It's almost like we're embarrassed, like, oh God, I'm embarrassed that we're good, and everybody else is so much better than we are, and it's that fake humbleness, like guilt, more than anything else. So they came out. It's the usual kind of stuff that they do.
America is the richest country in this club, but we're also the poorest, with a whopping 18% poverty rate, closer to Mexico than Western Europe. 12.8 million American children live in poverty. That's almost 1 in 5 of our kids.
Okay, so it starts breaking stuff down and throwing numbers out. Look, you listen to the show, we've got a lot of stuff to work on. Everybody does, right? There's a reason that great athletes continue to practice, right? There's a reason for that, because they always know there's something else I could be better at. There's something else that I could do. I have a weakness. What is it? Exploit it so I can get better at it. So it goes through this whole thing about how bad we are, how we're dying, and all of these kind of things. And it's an interesting, it's the usual stuff that you would figure you'd get from somebody like the Times.
And speaking of kids, turns out at the level of high school science, we're 19th of 36. Reading, 20th. And math, a dismal 30th. Now, I'm not that good at math, not America's fault, but that does not add up well, and neither does this. We spend more on healthcare than any other country in the golf club, especially out of our own private little pockets. But we live sicker and shorter lives. We're fatter, and globally, we're more likely to see newborns die. We're even behind Bosnia.
So, of course. So it starts painting all this. You get where I'm going with this. It's the usual BS that you'd find for something like that. And what do I always tell you guys? If you want to find out the real truth as much as you possibly can, because in this day and age, it is so hard. Everybody now is in their own niche market. Like, if you're on the left, if you're Huffington Post or the Daily Cause or whatever it is, you're serving a certain group of people that are coming back to you, and they're coming back to you. So you're going to feed them exactly what you want, right? And if you're on the right, it's Fox and Breitbart, they're going to feed you exactly what you want. So usually you have to try to find all of the information from both sides. Then you put it together like a puzzle. Are we the poorest? Really? Poorest rich country? Here's something. This is what's funny. So you start breaking stuff down, and this is the OECD's big, thing that they look at. One thing they don't count on is unmeasured income and benefits, right? Meaning, okay, so those people live in poverty, but wait a minute here. We're not counting the fact that they get food stamps, health care, housing and other amenities and rent subsidies, utility assistance, and things of that nature. We're not counting that. You're like, ooh. Yeah, that's based on their numbers, right? Here's another thing. The World Bank looks at something different. In recent years, they say more than half of welfare dollars and nearly half of food stamps have been missed in several major government surveys. There's been a sharp rise in underreporting of government benefits and the understatement of incomes. When they talk about Mexico, what they don't talk about is 35% of Mexico lives on about $5.50 a day. Less than 2% in America live off that, right? But it's one of those things where you look at this, and when you start to break it down, you start to realize what I've always said is, if you're born in this country, even with its warts and its problems, you've got the golden ticket. You've got the golden ticket. Our 20% of poverty and struggle lives better than most well-to-do nations elsewhere. It's incredible. some of the other stuff that they didn't point out in this, but they point out in this survey from Just Facts. High energy prices elsewhere because of ambitious green programs, which we should all look at. What does that do? What do we always talk about here on the Chad Benson Show? It sounds great if you're driving a Tesla. High energy prices are no big deal to you. But for the person that is living paycheck to paycheck, that's an issue. High tax rates, reduced incentives to work. We have a ton of social programs for as much as people want more. The reality is we have a ton of those things. And we're very generous on top of the fact that we're the most giving nation. There's so many things that go into this. So when they come out at the end of this thing and they just pour into all this stuff and they have to have their little biting remark.
So as we gear up for another election season where politicians tell us America is great or that it isn't and then proceed to make it worse, let's try a more truthful approach. America may once have been the greatest, but today, America, we're just okay.
No, we're not. It's a reason that a good portion of the globe on a given day, if they had the opportunity to come here, would come here en masse. Right? There is. And I'm not saying we don't have our problems. I'm not saying we don't have our issues, because we absolutely do. But as I like to point out to everybody else, show me someplace that has no issues. Show me someplace where it is utopia and perfection. Show me that place that has not only that, but also has no sins and has never committed a sin. Because we love to do revisionist history here. We love to play that game. It's funny. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Remember that college scandal? It's getting closer and closer and closer for Lori Loughlin and her husband to face the music.
The two expected to appear before a judge this afternoon, choosing to be represented by the same law firm. The court asking them to formally waive their right to separate counsel, acknowledging any potential conflicts of interest before their trial starts, so they can't claim they didn't get a fair trial at a later date.
Ladies close this way, all close.
Loughlin and her husband, fashion designer Massimo Giannoli, each facing up to 4 decades behind bars if convicted of federal fraud and money laundering charges, accused of paying $500,000 in bribes and fees to get their 2 daughters into USC.
Yeah. And they're worried about it. She is really, we're talking 40 years potentially behind bars. Also, you could have an Instagram moment of your child going to USC, of which you never listened to your child because one of them wanted no part of any of that, and now you've turned their life upside down.
A legal source close to the Full House star telling People magazine Loughlin is panicking behind closed doors, obsessing over every detail of the case. She's not doing anything. She's just reading the files again and again. This is a full-time concern of hers. That source telling People the 55-year-old has been in constant communication with her legal team and is keeping track of the other defendants and their deals. She wants to know who is getting what punishment and how their cases differ from hers.
Yeah. They might do some real time. They might do some serious real time. They're coming hard. They are coming hard. Now, here's the funny thing. Does it change anything? Nope. Are people still doing everything they can to give their child an edge and get them into college no matter what it is? Absolutely. That's still going to continue to happen no matter what it is, because human beings will be involved and individuals will think, can't happen to me, and I need the money. So opportunities will fall upon them, and they're willing to take a risk. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. We got a Twitter poll up today. New survey out says that, the presidential candidates and the president himself may be too old. What do you think? They say the average, the ideal age of what they'd like to see somebody as president is 48. But do you think Trump, Biden, Sanders, and even, yes, I'll say it, Elizabeth Warren has nothing, she's 70. Do you think they're too old to be president? 20% of you say yes. 24% say no. 57% of you says depends on the health. Is your mind good? Are you in good health? Right? Because I'll say one thing. I look at Biden, and at times he looks exhausted. Bernie, still going pretty well. Same thing with Elizabeth Warren. And you look at Trump. You may hate Trump. You may love Trump, whatever it is. But he's a go dude. That is, at his age, he seems like he's just cranking it out. So I guess it depends. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I work with an amazing organization. They're incredible. They're called Wounded Paw Project. If you don't know who they are, go to woundedpawproject.org. Find out the incredible things they're doing with shelter dogs, training them to become service dogs to get them to our veterans. Do you realize 20 veterans a day on average are committing suicide? And what they are doing is saving a paw to save a life. It changes not only the person's life who's receiving the dog, who's going through tough times, and now has somebody and something that is with them, but it is also transforming that dog. And it is so amazing what they're doing. And I want you to check it out. But it is not cheap and it is not easy, right? I always say miracles don't come cheap. And they need your help. Car, truck, RV, whatever you have, donate it. Amazing tax-deductible gift. They also take cash. But just going on their website, seeing what they're doing and how they're transforming lives is amazing. Check it out for yourself. WoundedPawProject.org or call 844-678-4PAW, 844-678-4729 or WoundedPawProject.org. You'll be saving a paw to save a life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
Each of them was telling almost an identical story of how they were recruited, of how they were compensated, of how they were molested.
Yeah, today, formally, had a chance to speak to the judge about Epstein. And because what kind of case are they going to bring? That's the big thing that people are asking. Because today was a formal proceedings that went on to essentially get the case dismissed because who's there? And this is more the criminal side. These people want to have their voices heard. This has zero to do with the civil side of it. Which will continue to go on for years and years and years.
Look in their eyes, and then he can make his judgment based on evidence, because I know Alan cares a lot about evidence and credibility, and I would invite him to do that if he's so inclined.
That's Gloria Allred talking about Alan Dershowitz, who represented Epstein before. People are pissed. They're angry. And I understand. They called them cowards and many other things. See, because they feel like, hey, essentially, he cheated the hangman's noose by being the hangman himself. And whether it was conspiracy or whether it was just absolute buffoonery, his day in court and their day in court never came.
I just wanted to thank everybody for their constant support during this really difficult time. It was so powerful in there, hearing all the other victims and very similar stories that I have endured.
Right there is one of the victims, Jennifer Arazo, and just they wanted to get it out, and it's awful, and this thing's going to continue to go on. And now the question is again, who else? Who else? And I'm not even talking about the people that helped facilitate his sickness and his freaking evil. I'm talking about who else was involved. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Oh, man. A lot of you tweeting in. About earlier, we were talking about political correctness with Dave Chappelle and his new special out. And just the whole thing with the craziness of comedy. And it's like, I'm comedy and is such an amazing tool. And it is so incredible. And it is such a release and laughing what it can do for you. And I do believe our country has gotten to a point where we've lost our sense of humor, right? We've allowed identity politics not only to creep in to comedy, but just this weirdness to creep into everyday aspects of our lives. I mean, you have CEOs who, let me tell you something. The CEOs of Purdue and GlaxoSmithKline and Johnson & Johnson, as bad as all this stuff is going on with opioids and everything and the lawsuits and the whole 9 yards, they're sitting back and saying, well, at least we're not being taken to task by the social media world. This is ugly for us. This is a bad situation. But CEOs are far more terrified in this day and age of being on the right side of wokeness than things like this. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, we've lost our way at times. And I'm telling you, man, if we can't find our sense of humor, this is going to be bad for all of us. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Do you think Biden, Trump, Warren, Bernie are too old? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. Check out the Instagram as well. It's Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I take my ironing board and a roll of duct tape and my posters, and I drive over to the local grocery store. And then I take my ironing board and my duct tape and my posters out of my car, and I go to the front of the grocery store, and I'd open up my ironing board, because you see, an ironing board makes a great standing desk. And with my duct tape, I would tape my posters so that people could see them as they walked by, and then I would require people to talk to me as they walked in and out of the grocery store. And that's how we do what we do. My ironing board and a roll of duct tape and my posters. That's how we do what we do.
I have no idea. What is she talking about? Kamala Harris. She wants to be president, you know. We have till tomorrow, I think, to qualify for this crazy chaos that is going to be potentially 2 nights, but it looks like it's only going to be 1 night of debate. Some people are unhappy about that.
I'm not going to be on the debate stage next.
It's Michael Bennett, by the way, not the football player. The guy's running for president but has no chance because most people couldn't pick him out of a lineup, even people who know him.
Next month, but I got to be honest. The DNC process is stifling debate at a time when we need it most.
I know these DNC debate rules have kind of turned this primary into the Hunger Games. Like, each step of this seems to be all about getting donors.
We're rewarding celebrity candidates with millions of Twitter followers, billionaires who buy their way onto the debate stage, and candidates who have been running for president for years.
Tom Steyer can't even do that. He can't even buy his way onto the debate stage. Trust us, we know. You know how we know? Because every day Phil gets several emails begging him, please, Phil, donate $1, please. No, not going to do it. It's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. Now the question is, who's in the lead? Who's got the chance of really doing this, right? Because we're starting to see, you've got the tier 1 candidates, right, that really feel like they got a shot. Then you got the tier 2 candidates that are hoping that everybody else will thin out, and as the thin starts to come from, you know, and the bottom dwellers, that those people that are with them will gravitate upwards, and maybe you can get pushed into the top tier candidates.
Brand new presidential polling released just moments ago shows a virtual 3-way tie in the Democratic field and a dip for Joe Biden. According to Monmouth University, 20% of Democratic voters support Bernie Sanders, 20% support Elizabeth Warren, and 19% support Joe Biden. That's a huge shift for Biden, with a significant drop since the last Monmouth poll. Question is, does this 3-way tie suggest that the race is entering a new stage?
It's possible. And here's the thing with somebody like Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden. is one of them feels like, hey, he's average Joe and he's tired. And he makes mistakes and he's goofy at times. And by the way, this is just as now. Go back and look over time. Joe has stepped in it more than a few occasions, even when he's younger. I don't know if age has anything to do with it at this point in time. And we've been talking about it. Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. Do you think Biden and Warren and Trump and Sanders are too old to be either president or running for president? And most of you say no. And a good portion are like me. It depends on the health of the person. But you also have the take on Warren. I mean, you listen to her talk. It's very interesting because when you look at the establishment and the upper elites comparatively to others, well, they love Warren.
And perhaps the answer to why Warren and Sanders coalitions look so different is the simplest possible explanation. People can see who's going to be best for them. The multiracial working class knows that Sanders will actually put them first, and elites are terrified that he will do that. Warren, on the other hand, her campaign is predicated on a promise to change things, yes, but not to color outside the lines, not to pose an existential threat to anyone's power or class status.
And apparently she's been meeting with the DNC, Tom Perez, and everybody said, I'll play ball, right? I'm going to be a team player. I'm here. I'm going to play ball. Because here's the fear factor for a lot of people out there. And we've talked about it before. There is a worry out there that they are so far left that while the uber elites and the uber progressives, which make up a loud but smaller than the middle of the road Democrat base, are going to say, you know what, you guys may love her, but I can't, right? I can't do that. And she wants to really get in there and say, look, I got the chance. I've got the momentum. I can take him on. I could break the barrier. I could do all of these things. And oh, by the way, I'm not going to be so radical as to scare everybody off. Because one thing about Warren is you think, okay, Warren wants to win. I think she would be willing to play ball. I don't think Bernie would. I think Bernie would be like, shut up. I don't like you guys. I'm not going to do this, blah, 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 blah. Because that's Bernie, right? Like that's the fun of what Bernie is. So it'll be very interesting to see what takes place moving forward and how she can. And normally when you're in this situation where you are running in a primary, you run further to the right or further to the left to a certain extent. But somewhere you go from being, whether it's you're conservative to now you're almost talking alt-right to you're being a liberal, a Democrat to a liberal to socialist. And you're like, whoa, you fall on off the page. We got to bring you back over here if you want to win this thing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Yesterday, massive victory for Oklahoma. The money they got, at least the judge awarded. By the way, I don't know if you know the judge. So the judge in the case in Oklahoma for the opioids, his name is Thad Balkman. He's not from Oklahoma. He's actually from my hometown, Long Beach. There's a great picture of him and Snoop a couple weeks ago at the 30th anniversary at Long Beach Polytech High School. His house, here's some silliness, his house was actually used in Ferris Bueller as the Ferris Bueller house as a kid growing up. So, but it's kind of funny with, him and Snoop Dogg posing. But turned out, yesterday he delivered $572 million judgment against Johnson & Johnson, and now other companies who are already facing...
Purdue Pharma, in an emailed statement, says it's...
And I'm going to tell you guys this as I push your button too fast. Other companies are facing massive lawsuits. And we're not just talking one or two. We're talking so many lawsuits. AGs are coming hard, and Purdue Pharma is one that's already starting to talk about, okay, well, maybe it's just time we just do what we possibly can to mitigate as much damage and to get the hell out of here.
Purdue Pharma, in an emailed statement, says it's ready to defend itself vigorously in any lawsuits, but sees little good coming from years of litigation. Purdue says a constructive global resolution is the best path forward, and it's working with state attorneys general and other plaintiffs on that, while Johnson & Johnson says it'll appeal a $572 million lawsuit award in Oklahoma. Teva and Purdue Pharma have already reached settlements to pay Oklahoma $85 million and $270 million, respectively.
Yeah, they're looking at $12 billion essentially. Like, what is it going to cost all of this to go away, right? And sometimes you're like $12 billion. It is huge. It is huge, massive, massive money. What is that going to be? What is that going to entail? How do they break it up? Well, I'm sure they'll have to figure it out, much like the NFL is going through right now. Because the NFL's whole thing is they're just trying to sort out the final details in the settlement to former players. And depending on, which players impacted the most, it depends on how much money they're going to get. Some players will get $5 million, which is the top tier. Other players will get several $100,000. And it's the same thing here. Some states impacted more. And Oklahoma is impacted tremendously. We're talking about some 6,000 deaths since 2000. Millions upon millions upon millions of opioids on the street. 100,000 Oklahomans who are addicted to opioids. So depending on how much it's impacted your community or state is what you're going to get. But think about it. They're willing to say, hey, here's $12 billion. Divide it up amongst yourselves. There you go. Then what? I don't know. I mean, are you done? Are we done here? Like, are you no longer going to allow doctors to prescribe? Are you no longer going to allow, certain states are like, look, we're not going to service you guys anymore for this. And what does that do for patients? And patients need to figure out how we deal with pain in a better alternative way. Doesn't mean that we abandon this altogether, because doctors will tell you there is a benefit to this when prescribed and used correctly. In saying that, I think some companies are just going to go, yeah, I'm going to pass. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Here's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me what is going on in the Amazon today. I guess Brazil's turned down a bunch of money and any help from the G7. It's very bizarre with what's going on. This is, somebody said the other day, this is the lungs of our planet, and I agree 110%. And I don't feel like we're doing the things that we need to be doing, and it's almost like Brazil doesn't want anybody there because either A, it's worse, or B, they're kind of bumbling this thing big time.
This rancher named Geronimo, he had seen a couple of tankers drop water near the fire. It had no effect, and he has seen fires come and go in this area, never anything on this scale, but he said, nobody's going to be able to fight this fire. And he's right. The only thing he said, and the experts here agree, that can actually stop this is Mother Nature. But it actually rained last night, and that probably provided some respite. And the rainy season, though, is months away. There's just too many fires spread out over such an enormous geographical expanse.
Yeah, so we'll see if Mother Nature is going to surprise everybody when it comes to this just awful situation going on in the Amazon. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. We got a poll question up. Do you think some of the candidates running for president are too old? Sanders, Trump even being president, Warren, who is 70, Biden, are they too old? They say the sweet spot is 48. That's a good age, right? You're mature enough but still young enough. Or is it a health thing, right? If you feel like you have all your, faculties and you feel like you're in a good situation and you can, for whether you like Trump or not, he always seems to be on the go. He seems to be doing stuff 90 miles an hour. And I still, to this day, there's still some contention there that where people were worried about Hillary and her health based on a few of the things that took place during the election. And that was brought up on more than a few occasions. And that wasn't just, people try. No, I mean, there was some serious issues that I think had to be questioned there. And the same thing goes for, look at somebody like Merkel, who is having issues in Germany. And she's had more than a few fits of shaking and bouts of shaking, and that people have been questioning certain things. So I think it's fair to ask the question of the health and the faculties of your leader. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where the sensible center hangs out. Hey, you! That doesn't mean you can put your feet up on the table.
You're despicable.
This
is Chad Benson.
The Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court to allow strict new rules on asylum claims to take effect in 9 states as the legal battle continues. Earlier this month, the Ninth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals temporarily blocked the administration from implementing in those 9 states a new requirement that anyone seeking asylum in the U.S. who passed through what's called a safe third country must have applied for asylum in that country first. The justices have not yet decided to take up the case on its merits.
Yeah, so we'll see if they do that. And, it's been fairly quiet, especially this last week. There's a lot of chaos and wackiness that goes on with Trump more so than any other president. But next week, they start to come back in earnest, and then maybe they start talking again about impeachment. And today they're talking about Deutsche Bank and records. And everyone's like, do you care? I'm like, no. I'm trying to think of other things I care less about, and that is on the top of my list right now. I'm sure I can find something if I look hard. At this point in time, look, it's election time is just over a year away, so it's silly to be talking about this. You guys have a finite time to get stuff done and act like you're actually trying to work for America. Maybe that's a good thing that you're not, because based on what I've seen and the people I talk to there, you shouldn't be in charge of a lot of stuff. I'm always amazed at some of the people that end up there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. I do love hearing from every single one of you. I try to get back to everybody. I want you guys to know that. Even if you're rude or horrible or you say stuff, I try to be kind and answer back to people. And I don't know why we feel this way to always be. I was watching something today with Bill Burr, and he was on with Jim Jeffries, who's a funny Australian comic. He's got a talk show here, by the way. If you've never seen Jim Jeffries, hilarious. And he was just talking about, like, we can't even do, like, he says, you know what? One thing that would help us is getting rid of comments on threads. And I'm like, oh, he's right? If you got rid of comments on threads on the internet, that'd be a huge helper. Because everything he says starts with, it doesn't matter what it is. He said he was watching something about how vicious like orangutans were and monkeys, and how that they're tribal and they'll eat other monkeys and they'll fight each other and stuff. And he says, I'm starting to watch this, and I thought, he goes, I'm fascinated by it. And I look in the comments thinking other people will be fascinated too. And he goes, within like 4 comments, it just evolves into hate and racism. And he goes, but it's like that with everything. Right? He goes, it's just, you could be watching porn and look at comments there. It'd be the same thing. And I'm like, he's right. If we got rid of comments in a lot of things, I always tell everybody, doesn't even matter what the story is half the time. Just go look at the comments. Look how awful we are to one another. It's just, wow. You sit back and go, what the hell's wrong with us? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, take the poll at Chad Benson Show. Do you think some of these candidates, and indeed the president himself, is too old? How do you feel about that? What's the right age? 48 is what most people are saying is the good age, the right age for president of the United States. One of the other things is I think height matters, too. It does. We like a tall person, right? It gives a certain sense of something. It does. So take the poll at Chad Benson Show. Carly Lloyd, she's a World Cup winner. Been around the game a long time. Hell of a soccer player. Hell of an athlete. She did something last week that surprised a lot of people and has people talking in the biggest league in our country. And she turned something down that, quite frankly, I don't think she should. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson. Students at UC Berkeley will soon be able to take a class called Adulting.
What?
Students came up with the course to cover topics not taught in traditional schools. Curriculum will focus on everyday living issues ranging from filing taxes to building up your resume. The Chronicle reports 100 people have signed up for the class, which is only for 30 students. You and I talked about the fact we have young children. We're teaching them those things now: laundry, dishwasher loading, emptying your lunchbox.
I wonder if that's like a 1-credit course or a 3-credit course.
I forgot the whole credit.
Can you take it pass fail?
Right.
So funny. It's not, though. It's not funny. There's an adulting class at Berkeley. Everybody, do you guys get that? It was developed by a couple students. Bella Lau, a 20-year-old, a junior integrated biology student, who conceived of the class along with her friend, Jenny Zhao. I'm sure I screwed both of those up, and somewhere I've culturally appropriated something, and they're going to be mad at me. It is what it is. As a way to address blind spots in their own educations. They've now expanded it. There will be 2 classes. What are some of the things they're talking about? Well, all kinds of stuff. They're learning life lessons. One of the big things they talk about is resume building, right? Resume building? Talk about taxes. They talk about just stuff that you would think mom and dad in life would teach you, but apparently no. Apparently, no. They talk about stuff like, be sure to check the sell-by dates. Don't buy clothes that have dry cleaning only, which is understandable. But isn't that, I feel like this should be just called common sense. And the fact that now I feel like we have to teach common sense in class is crazy. It's nuts. By the way, this is also the place that has Cal Pokemon Academy class. Fruits of the World. I'm reading some of these things. Fruits of the World. Here's a class you shouldn't take. It's 2 credits, Intro to Radio Journalism. I'm going to tell you guys right now, don't take that. The hell's Fruits of the World? This course aims to provide historical, cultural biology and a physiologically understanding a variety of common fruits from around the world. And you wonder what the hell's wrong with education. They have a class called Fruits of the World. No wonder people need to take a class on common sense and adulting. That is insane. I'm going through some of the courses here. Zero Waste Solutions for a Sustainable Future is one of the classes. It's only an hour long. Self-driving cars. You can take that class. Can I just have somebody do a self-driving student that self-drives themselves and does my stuff? Right? God, some of these classes, Wayfinding Your Purpose. Get ready for this. Are you ready for this, Producer Phil? This is going to teach you how to find your purpose in life. In this class, we'll explore social science and the purpose of developing and using a curriculum called Wayfinder Navigation Toolkit that's been designed in order to help students embark on the path of purpose. The history of Middle Earth. These are real things. Charisma, the art of genuine connection. This is what you could learn. This is what life skills, intro to baking. You wonder why college costs as much as it does. And then we get to adulting. So the school system does not require a class for students to learn how to live in the real world and function as an adult. We often enter college unprepared to take care of ourselves. Many life skills, including how to develop good habits, manage stress, pay taxes, budget our spending income, and live a healthy lifestyle, are necessary, especially when college is a bridge to adulthood. Oh, my God. This is what we got, kids. Are you guys prepared for that? I'm just saying. This is This is what's going on. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. I do love hearing from every single one of you. I try to get back to everybody as much as possible. I'm going to say the NFL is interesting. And yesterday, the news, people were still trying to figure out what the hell's going on when you had one of the biggest stars retire over the weekend at age 29, arguably at what should be entering the peak years and money making. They said he left potentially $500 million on the table. I don't think it's that much. It's the NFL. He may have signed $500 million a contract in the future, but he probably would have only seen, at lucky, half of that. And then, you realize that goes quick, but he's a smart guy, Andrew Luck. And there's a lot of issues out there. And one of the things that is, that you heard him talk about was the loss of joy of football. And Gronk, you guys remember Gronk. I love Gronk, right? My son loves Gronk. He came out and he's pushing CBD, which I think should be looked at tremendously, especially when it comes to athletes and their body. And he's got a company in the whole 9 yards. But he was talking about that joy.
Patriot fans, I love all my fans. I love Patriot fans. And wherever I go, Patriot fans always ask, am I coming back? When I'm coming back? Where am I coming back? I'm walking across the street and they're like, you're walking because you're coming back. It's crazy. I understand. I feel that love. But I want to be clear to my fans. I needed to recover. I was not in a good place. Football was bringing me down. And I didn't like it. And I was losing that joy in life, like the joy. I'm sorry right now, but, I really was, and I was fighting through it.
And you listen to him there, and you realize, man, what they put their bodies through, how they beat themselves up. And things that we take for granted for a lot of people out there, 90% of us, it's tough, right? I go out and I play, still I run around for 30, 40 minutes a day. Nothing like I used to, because if I did what I used to, my body couldn't handle it anymore. And I do it because fitness and the whole 9 yards. But my knees, I know eventually I'm going to have my knees replaced. One of my knees probably has 20% mobility. The other one, maybe 60%. I see Wolf from Arizona Sports here every morning, who played for, 8-10 years in the NFL. And he gets up and he walks around, and we talk about it all the time because his body needs to be moving because otherwise you sit too long, the stiffness. These guys, you put yourself through it. As a kid growing up, one of my favorite athletes was a guy named Earl Campbell. I don't know if you guys remember who Earl Campbell was. He played for the Houston Oilers. He was a behemoth of a man. And you see him now, and he's in a walker. He can barely move. And this is a guy who one of the most famous things in football was him actually running over another player, where he hit the guy in the chest with his head. And in slow motion, you see the guy. Brrr. But the joy, you heard him talk about it, right? Andrew Luck the night before, the joy is gone. And what they put through themselves through body-wise is crazy. And I don't know if Andrew Luck can come out. I don't know if Gronk will ever find that kind of joy again. You do ask that question, in the sport, because you should be sitting on top of the world. You won the Super Bowl, right? You should, you're still somewhat in your prime. But when you lose that joy for anything, relationship, work, your hobby, when you lose that passion and joy for something, something's wrong. I can't do this anymore. I can't. And then when your body starts to pay the price on top of that, you got to get out.
I knew what I signed up for, and I knew what I was fighting through. And I knew I just have to fix myself. And I believe I have the tools. I have the people around me. I have CBD medic team around me now to help me to deal with my pain whenever I need it, during a workout, whatever it is, so I can do the most safe alternative way for myself.
And I do think that CBDs, they need to look into them. They need to look out and say, all right, what is it? First of all, they all smoke a little weed. We need to get over it. Secondly, if I would rather have them on CBD oils than the mountainous and copious amounts of painkillers that these mountain of men have to take to get through the day. Absolutely. I think we can all agree on that. It's just insane. So maybe they start looking around. But when you hear that word joy and that joy being robbed, wow. That's, it's time. It's time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I do love hearing from you. Got a poll question up today. Simple and easy. You think some of these presidential candidates, and indeed the president himself, is too old? Do you think they're too old to be president? Currently, 19% say yes, they are. 23% say, no, they're not too old. And 57% say it depends on the health. I'm a health kind of person. I think if you keep yourself in this good kind of fitness and your mind is sharp, it's good to go. But I look at somebody like Biden, and you look at him and you have to question at times, just like you did with Hillary. And I think that played into it a lot more than people wanted to lead on about. That Hillary had issues and people were worried. I mean, you look at Merkel right now. She's had several bits where bouts of her shaking, and people are questioning that. They say 48 is the sweet spot age-wise, president. We'll see. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Raycon. Hey, you're never too young or too old to have yourself some Raycons. They're incredible. Best earbuds around. E50s, designed by Ray J, entrepreneur, musician, loved by the likes of Snoop Dogg, Cardi B, Melissa Etheridge, and so many more. And it is awesome. Amazing design, right in your ear. Incredible. They're designed to be earbuds. They're not designed to be something that is strictly comes with your phone, pairs up with it. Yeah, Bluetooth, that's what's going to happen with them. But they're designed for the listening quality and the comfort. And a lot of other ones aren't. They're just here, throw these in, and it's got stems or dangling wires, and it's just, I had ones that had dangling wires, and I thought, well, it's for sports. And I felt like I had a chin strap that was always loose. You don't have to worry about with these. They clip right in your ears. They're just comfortable and amazing. They look good. They cost about half the price of what premium super earbuds cost. And again, no wires, no stems, better colors, better quality. And right now, for my listeners, that's you guys, 15%. That's what you save on top of everything else. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. Premium earbuds like no others. Get yours now. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
A repeat for Scarlett Johansson.
Whatever it takes.
The Avengers star once again tops Forbes' list of highest paid Hollywood actresses. Forbes says Black Widow raked in $56 million in the past year, thanks in large part to her Avengers deal. Modern Family star Sofia Vergara is second with $44 million. Reese Witherspoon in third with $35 million. According to Forbes, the top 10 earned a combined 69% more than last year, but at $315 million, it's still about half of what the top 10 men pulled in.
Yeah, but you know what? Look on the other side of stuff. When it comes to how much money the ladies have earned in music, Beyonce made $82 million last year, and that was $103 million short of what Taylor Swift made. Right? And Taylor's out there doing Taylor stuff, right? Calling out the White House, doing Taylor stuff. So they're making good money, right? They're making good money. Let's all just take a deep breath. I know that's going to be out there. Why aren't they getting paid the same? At this point in time, here's the deal. These ladies are not negotiating their own contract. I can guarantee you Scarlett Johansson has a couple agents and managers that are handling everything. I can guarantee that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us, like hearing from you. You could text the program as well. Check out thechadshow.com. That's where we have our fun, simply known as the podcast, and everything else you want to know about the Chad Benson Show.
Last week, the manager of the Dairy Queen in Greenwood, South Carolina, told the local paper he'd been informed by a corporate inspector that someone had lodged a complaint about human meat being inside a DQ burger. Now, the FBI was at the Dairy Queen recently, but it was inspecting a money laundering case. It had nothing to do with cannibalism. Still, Twitter ran with it. The rumors were flying. When he was asked about it, the Greenwood coroner said it was the first time it had ever come up, and there's little to no chance of that ever being able to happen. The burgers made of beef at that Dairy Queen are fine.
I just like how they say, there's little to no chance. So you're saying there's a chance. I'm just saying, yeah, there's a chance. Not that much of a chance. But it's not like, it's a smidge. It's a smidge. It's just little to no chance. Just a smidge. Not like totally, but there's a smidge. So if you're Dairy Queen, right, with all of the stuff going on, so you got the battle of the chicken burger or whatever it is, the chicken sandwich, right? You got that going on. You've got the Beyond Meat stuff happening elsewhere, and you're Dairy Queen, and what are people talking about? Is there human meat in your food? That is not a winning proposition. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Talking today about the opioids and what is going on. Somebody texted in or tweeted in a little bit earlier saying that she does not agree with the outcome of the lawsuit in Oklahoma, the $572 million awarded against Johnson & Johnson, saying people need to take responsibility. And I think there is a certain extent of that. I mean, let's be real. There is a certain extent, but there's a lot of people out there who thought or had no idea how bad and how addictive these drugs were. And so they just thought they were taking something prescribed by their doctor, not realizing that it was going to get ugly in their lives. They went in because they had a hurt back or it was a work injury, and lo and behold, 3 years later, they got nothing. They got no marriage. They've become an addict, and all because they thought they were doing something. Hey, the doctor's prescribing, so it's got to be okay, right? It's got to be okay. But yeah, there is a certain sense of personal responsibility for a good portion of people. But it's also, they have flooded the markets and they lied about how addictive and how bad it was. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Is Trump, Sanders, Warren, Biden, are they too old? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. What say you? Most of you say, no, not too old. But most of you also agree it depends on the person. Because according to a new survey, most people believe they're too old to be president. 48's the right age. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
So last night, going through stories, things we're going to talk about today, and I'm on Vice. I read just about everything, from the Huffington Post to Vice, New York Times, Washington Post, Breitbart, The Blaze, AP, and a bunch of other things in between. And I come across this article by Taylor Hosking, saying you can definitely skip Dave Chappelle's new Netflix special, Sticks and Stones. The comedian doubles down on misogyny and transphobia in both the special and the hidden bonus scenes that follows. So I start reading into the article, right? I'm like, well, hold on a second. I like Dave Chappelle. He makes me laugh. He's an interesting character. He is. It's a guy who walked away at the height of his fame with his comedy, the comedy channels. There he is. He's got everything. The Chappelle Show, they're offering him like a 5-year, $50 million contract to do all this stuff. And he just says, I'm out. And out he was. So I start reading all of this stuff, right? And he goes on to Michael Jackson. He hammers Michael Jackson. And it was, again, it's not for the faint of heart. He looks right into that chaos and tornado, and he is not shy about who he is. He does not back down. And when you face somebody, it's like, you ever watch a boxing match where you'll see a guy throw their best punch and it hits a guy in the chin, and the guy in the chin doesn't flinch, and you could almost see that situation where, uh-oh. And that's a lot of what Dave Chappelle is, and several other comics out there, right? They'll look right at you and your Twitter mob and all of this stuff, and you will hit them with your best shot, and they just smile. So as I start reading into this stuff, they said he returned with his now infamous obsession with making fun of trans people, saying trans people hate my blanking guts, and I don't blame them. I can't stop writing jokes about these blank. This time, those jokes included asking the audience how funny it would be if he was actually a Chinese person stuck inside of a black man, which, you guessed it, also included a racist impression of a Chinese person. So halfway through this, I'm like, I got to see this. And I watched a portion of it today, and you know what? It made me laugh. It did. Is it cringeworthy? It depends. I don't find a lot cringeworthy, especially in this day and age. Is it funny? Mm-hmm. It is. Does he hammer both sides? Absolutely. Does he hold anything back? He doesn't.
I only got two. All right, first impression's kind of dumb, but I like it. This is my impression. You ready? This is my impression of the founding fathers of America when the Constitution was being written. You ready? Here it goes. Hurry up and finish that Constitution. I'm trying to get some sleep.
But this one it says it all right here in the day and age that we live in. It does.
I want to see if you can guess who it is I'm doing an impression of. Duh. Hey, duh. If you do anything wrong in your life, and I find out about it, I'm going to try to take everything away from you. And I don't care when I find out. Could be today, tomorrow, 15, 20 years from now. If I find out, you're finished. Who's that? That's you. That's what the audience sounds like to me. That's why I don't be coming out doing comedy all the time, because y'all is the worst I've ever tried to entertain in my life.
What does he mean by that? Essentially, I come out here and tell a joke 5 years from now, you want to destroy my life because now you're woke. And you weren't woke then, and you laughed, you feel guilty, so you're coming after me. You see a tweet that somebody did 4, 8, 10 years ago, and you go after them. The Twitter mob enrages. Right? Pete Davidson he was at a college over the past weekend, and he went off because he's got a no filming. And Pete Davidson, Saturday Night Live, famous for getting into that incident with Dan Crenshaw, the Texas congressman, but he went off on them for filming. And one of the reasons he didn't want people to film is because of exactly that. Because people are looking for the gotcha moment. People are going to things just so they can get the gotcha moment. In this politically correct, woke world, they are. One of the reasons that I'm surprised he did at college. They must have paid him a ton of money. But I think it's hilarious, and I think it's real. I think we live in this world of walking around on eggshells that it boggles my mind. And this retro rage. We no longer care about due process. We no longer care about how something was said and the spirit it was said. It's all about how you took it. Well, isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Is it? I mean, is that it? Is that the way everything is supposed to be? And we also want to go back and we want to revisit history. I love all these people that are woke, all these people that are PC, and they talk about their founding fathers, and they talk about all of the things back then and how evil and bad it is, as if they lived back then, that they would take their values from today and just sit down there and say, let me tell you guys something. That's a bunch of crap. You know it, and I know it. You know why comedy is at its maybe the biggest height it's ever been? The 80s was massive. Because people want an outlet. They're sick of walking around on eggshells. And I'm not just talking about, oh, you're just talking about, the crazy right-wingers. No. Everybody. Democrats are sick and tired of it. And I'm not talking about the progressives and the people that only care about your sexual orientation, what you identify as, the color of your skin, the person you worship, blah, blah, blah. I'm not talking about those people. Those people are always extra woke, extra looking for something. I'm talking about the average run-of-the-mill Democrat. He's just over it. Doesn't want to walk around. Look at the polls. Tells you that over and over. And I'm glad he took this on. And it just made me laugh because they point something out to me of like why I shouldn't watch it. And I read it. And I'm like, now I need to see it. Producer Phil, you said you're going to go home tonight and watch it?
Absolutely, I am.
Yeah. Sticks and Stones. It's on Netflix. You have a chance. It just came out. And, yeah, it's funny. And it's not for the faint of heart. There's some stuff in there that'll make you go, ah. But that's what a comic does, right? That's what the comics do. I mean, even I remember Daniel Tosh said one time, I draw a line for myself just to see if I'll cross it. And sometimes I cross the line and think, oh, my God, I can't do that. And the other thing is, too, we live in this weird world where you think if you laugh somehow or somebody laughs that they agree with something. No, sometimes stuff is shocking and just funny. We get over it. That's the reality of it all, right? You know, the other night, people were clapping, right, when Bill Maher talked about David Koch dying and hopes that the end of his life was painful and awful, and so people started clapping. Do I think everybody thinks that, oh, I hope everybody's life is awful and horrible? No. Are there a few people out there that are idiots? Yes. But I'm over it, right? I'm over it. And we used to think, like, oh, you know what, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. And then we move on with our lives. Now there is none of that. Now there is no coming back. Now you were condemned. You were told to go somewhere and to shut up and to never come out of wherever you are. And I love what he said there. That's why he doesn't do it. And I get it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. If you haven't heard, yesterday's announcement was massive. Opioids, $572 million, which is huge. One of the things in the trial that Thad Balkman, who was the judge, talked about and that the Johnson & Johnson people continued to push out was, well, they talk about it here. It was on a Morning Joe today. Don't worry, Mika or Joe aren't involved in any of this, and that's what's good about it. But it is very interesting when you listen to how Johnson & Johnson talked about addiction.
Perhaps the most astonishing and saddest sentence in the entire opinion by the judge is essentially this one. It's that the defendants apparently used a phrase called pseudo-addiction. And pseudo means something that is essentially false, to convince doctors that patients who exhibited signs of addiction were not suffering from addiction, but instead were suffering from undertreatment of their pain. And the fix for that was more opiates. Candidly, I think this should be the leading line in every interview you give. This is the saddest sentence in the entire opinion.
Yeah, and he's talking to AG Mike Hunter, who was the one who brought the case against Johnson & Johnson. Again, $572 million. And they have gotten, I think, another $300 million from a few other Purdue Pharma and a few other ones. They've got some settlements with, and Purdue Pharma came out today and they said they're working on a $12 billion with a B dollar settlement for essentially to wrap up some 2,000 lawsuits nationwide. They just want to get this over and done with. But to say that essentially what he was saying is, people come in and say they think they're addicted to something, and they're like, you're not addicted. You just need more of this. It's just, that's crazy. It is. And somebody tweeted in earlier, well, what about personal responsibility? I agree. Personal responsibility is a huge thing. The issue I have is the pharmaceutical companies. And indeed, people are asking questions now about the FDA. That's one thing that people are starting to bring up, including the pharmaceutical companies themselves.
The facts are that the company manufactured 2 FDA-approved medicines that are essential for treating patients who suffer from chronic, long-term, debilitating pain.
Which is very real. That's very true. People are asking questions about the FDA. What was their role in this? How much did you guys know? Because you guys said it wasn't as addictive as it was. You guys said a lot of different things. It's very much reminiscent of the tobacco and hiding how bad it really was for you. So there's a lot of questions here, and it's going to be interesting how this plays itself out. It's also going to be interesting to what happens to a good portion of those people who do have chronic debilitating pain, who've tried everything. And this helps them because doctors will tell you, yeah, you know what, there is an actual use for this that is needed. We need to figure out in this country a better way to deal with our pain. And I think we will do that over time. But do we no longer prescribe these? Is it only at you have to go to your doctors every day to get them? I mean, how is this going to work going forward in some of these states? 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. Got a poll question today. It's about the age of the president because a new survey came out. And not just the age of the president, but also the age of the candidates. And it's very interesting because according to a new study, essentially half of Americans feel, you know what, Trump, Biden, Sanders, Warren, a little bit too old, a little bit too long in the tooth. And they believe 48 is the ideal age. So do you think they're too old? 21% of you say yes, 25% say no, and 54% of you say depends on the health. And that's kind of where I'm at. I think you could be 55 and, you know, in this day and age, you know, we see people who are struggling mentally and physically, and you could be 75 and you could be, you know, just running around and you could just got it all going on. So I think it depends on the individual. For some people, I think they just, you know, when it comes to the age thing, I think they just want fresh people with fresh ideas rather than the same old same. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. What's trending? Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
Plea deal this.
Mueller, arrest me.
Chad will trade you 2 perjury charges for 1 collusion and throw in a reduced charge of obstruction for free.
Yeah, I'd do that.
For just listening to The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Trending. What's the big haps? What's the big thing going on out there in the world? You know what I'm saying? Twitter. Roy Moore is trending, and Alabama Republicans, because there's something to do with Ilhan Omar. They want her, I don't know, they want her recalled or kicked out or expelled. I don't know. I pay no attention to them. Look, you know when I pay attention to Alabama? On Saturdays in September through the beginning of the year, because Bama football. That's when I pay. Outside of that, thank you very much. FEMA, Leslie Jones, you guys don't know who she is. She was Saturday Night Live fame. She is leaving Saturday Night Live to focus on other things. Other things trending. This is very interesting. Lori Loughlin is trending because, she's looking at 40 years. I just want everybody to understand for that whole, her and her husband. And apparently she's obsessed with who's getting what, who is potentially cutting a deal. All because she wanted to be the great Instagram mom that had the perfect life because her 2 kids got into USC, even though I don't think one of them actually wanted to go anywhere near college and was enjoying their life. Purdue Pharma is trending as well because of their talks to resolve a ton of opioid cases. And the number one trending thing, and we're going to get to it in more detail, is Alex Houston, who on KOCO TV said something that is very shocking, I think is the best way to describe it. And that is the number one trending thing right now. But we're going to break that down in a little bit. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Some of you are tweeting in and texting in about Dave Chappelle and political correctness. And you know, somebody just tweeted in and said, it should matter how things are taken, not how they were meant. No, it's if we're going to do that, can you imagine a world where everything being said is, we're almost there, I feel like it, and I feel like we're losing our sense of humor, where we can scrutinize everything to the point where we're looking. And let me tell you guys this, okay? New York Times is feeling something they haven't felt for a while because people are bringing up old tweets and stuff that people that are op-ed writers and people that have worked for New York Times have said in the past that have been very anti-Semitic and have racial overtones and things of that nature, and they're feeling it. And we're at the point now where everybody is scouring everything to take everybody down and waiting for the opportune time to do so. And I don't know about you, man. I don't want to live my life that way. I don't want to live my life where we just go around looking. There are people out there on both sides of the aisle that listen to radio shows, watch television shows, read everything every single day so they can report back to some hierarchy so they can snitch, and then it can be crazy chaos and outrage mob. So ridiculous. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Carly Lloyd. We're going to talk about her straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
In this video, several points were made. So you voting for this video means that you want a world where we're all treated equally under the law. Regardless of who we love, regardless of how we identify, at the end of this video, there is a petition for the Equality Act. Basically just says we all deserve equal rights under the law. It now has 500,000 signatures, which is 5 times the amount that it would need to warrant a response from the White House.
By the way, the White House did respond to good friend Taylor Swift there, saying, look, equality, absolutely, but we didn't like some of the stuff in the bill. And, it's all woke. It's all about being woke. Woke. But I'm all about, you know what? Give it a try. Case in point, last week, Carly Lloyd, she won the World Cup with the U.S. Women's National Team a little over a month ago. They're on their Champions Tour right now where they're going out and celebrating. Everybody's cheering them on. She was at a joint practice last week with the Philadelphia Eagles. Zach Ertz plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. His wife was also on the U.S. Women's National Team, Julie. And her husband, Carly Lloyd, and she knows the special teams coach for Baltimore. So it was a joint practice between the Ravens and the Eagles. And she brought her boots. They had a tour. They were having fun. And she had a chance to kick. And kick she did, including hitting a 55-yarder. 55 yards, which is nothing to laugh at. It is big. And everybody's seen it. It's gone viral, and she was on with Grant Wall talking about that.
I was casually just, wanting to bang in a few field goals.
It's banging.
Because I'm a competitor, and we just enjoyed the day, and I brought my boots, so afterwards I could hit a few field goals, and I started at 25 yards, and I just kept moving back and was aiming for Elliott and Tucker's 61-yarder record. So I attempted a 57, had the length, but it didn't go in between the small goalposts or the field goal posts on this one. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely blew up.
Yeah, it did blow up. And here's the thing: what she was doing is she was kicking so if you go out and you see these practices, whether it's big time college or the pros, they'll have the regular goalpost, and then they'll have tiny small goalposts. That's to work on their accuracy. And she hit the 55-yarder straight down the middle of that one. And it had some leg, too. It could have gone further.
I love how you begin this by just going, I was just casually doing a 55-yard. Now, here's a question for you, Carly, because many of us are discussing this now. Are you getting any interest from NFL teams? Has anyone come to you and approached you about it? Because, obviously, we know about your feet and what you can do on the soccer field, and we've seen you do, field goals before, but to me, this was so impressive. I'm wondering if you're getting any phone calls to do a side gig.
So, put out to her by one of the soccer reporters. Anybody calling you? Anybody sniffing around? I mean, look, let me tell you about being a kicker. There's a guy currently in the NFL. There's several guys in the NFL who've never kicked football in college or high school. They were rugby players or they were Aussie Rules players. And one guy is currently on a roster who did none of those things. But he enjoyed kicking and having fun, and he went viral, and somebody's like, we got to bring that guy in. So they asked her, straight up, anybody contacted you?
It's there's been some interesting chatter about it. I think anything is possible. It's been really interesting because for me, I'm just an athlete. I'm a competitor, but for so many other people, I think, they're starting to think, will there ever be a female in the NFL at some point?
Yeah, they're asking that question. And obviously the answer would be, if there is going to be one, and we've seen it in college and in high school and stuff, it's most likely going to be a punter or a kicker. So why not?
And I think we're kind of at that crossroads as far as equality and just women empowerment. So you're kind of.
She's trying not to say it here. Well, I'm going to go on this road. That's a long road, but has anybody contacted you, Carly?
Being in the crosshairs of that. And I've definitely got some inquiries. I've definitely got some people talking. Anything's possible, but right now I'm strictly a soccer player, and we'll see what the future holds.
Well, one team apparently did offer her a spot in Thursday night's game. Hey, come kick for us. And kicking, by the way, there's a lot to learn, right? There's a process. I mean, she got to run up to the ball. There's just certain little nuances with the kicking thing that she would have to learn, including one of those things where you actually start running towards something that's not actually there. It's not like hike, snap, put the ball down, you start your run. But those things can all be taught. And she's an athlete. It's not a big deal. I think she should have done it. I know the tour is important, but in this day and age of equality and what you're fighting for, the opportunity there is huge. Because the reality is this. You guys aren't the news you were 4, 6, 8 weeks ago. You strike while the iron's hot. And this is an opportunity for you to go, yeah, you know what? If somebody wants to dress me out in a game, in an NFL, I'm going to take the opportunity to do it. Hell yeah. I would have if I was her. And if I was the United States Soccer Federation and I was the manager of the team, right, I would have said, you got to take this. Because in this fight for equality, in this fight for all of these things, this is the opportunity for you to get out there and to do something that's huge. And don't be surprised if at some point in time over the next month or two, because kicking is one of those things. You are literally only as good as your last kick. And so for those of you who have no idea how it works is, even when you're signed and you're a kicker, and you may be as accurate as the day is long, and you may not miss a kick all year, right? And you could be 12 weeks into the season. You know what happens on Monday, Tuesday? They bring in 2-3 kickers every week. There's 2-3 kickers revolving around. Because A, you're as good as your last kick, and B, there's always that potential of some sort of injury or something like that. But there's always a competition at that. So, yeah, I think she'll have a chance. Damn Skippy. And if I was her, I'd take it. I would. I said as much as important it is for her to maybe potentially say goodbye and kind of a swan song. She's a little bit older than the rest of a lot of the girls on the team, and she may not be at the next World Cup, or she'll probably get to the next Olympics. But I would have took this opportunity because that's a groundbreaking. Right? That is a groundbreaking opportunity. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. So this took place the other day. It's in Oklahoma. And you've got a news anchors who are watching footage at a zoo of of a gorilla. And you've got this blonde lady, Alex Hewson, and her co-anchor, who happens to be black, a male. And they're watching this footage of a gorilla who has like a camera or something. It's just one of those things that you do. Is like it's the morning AM thing. And you sat here and you listened to this and you're like, oh, did that happen?
Okay, you have to see this. This is Finn. We're about to show. Oh my goodness, take a look at him. He's a resident of the Oklahoma City Zoo. And this week, the zoo's 8th caretaker took over their Instagram, and we are all loving that they did. And as you can see, Finn was fascinated.
Definitely ready for his close-up.
Kind of looks like you. What do you see the picture?
It kind of does, actually, yeah.
Kind of looks like you. So she says that to her black co-host. He kind of looks like you. And she probably, the minute it came out of her mouth, she probably thought, sweet Jesus, what have I done? Well, today she took to the airwaves to apologize.
I'm here this morning because I want to apologize. The only to my coworker, Jason, but to our entire community. I said something yesterday that was inconsiderate, it was inappropriate, and I hurt people. And I want you to know I understand how much I hurt you out there and how much I hurt you. I love you so much, and you have been one of my best friends for the past year and a half, and I would never do anything on purpose to hurt you. And I love our community, and I want you all to know from the bottom of my heart, I apologize for what I said. I know it was wrong, and I am so sorry.
Yeah. Interesting. Right? Because we live in a world where we no longer want you punished, right? There's no longer, we're going to suspend you for a week or two. You apologize. There's no mea culpa. It's let's see how contrite you are, which will decide some of your punishment, but we're also going to be able to brand you with whatever we want to call you. And there's a good chance we will make sure that you never work ever again, if at all possible. I don't know her. That sounded pretty contrite. That sounded like she was devastated by what she did. Like she hurt somebody. And she did.
Oh, Alex, thank you very much. And I do accept your apology, and I do appreciate your apology. I want to let everybody out there know that Alex is one of my best friends. I mean, we do what we do here, and it's not as if we see each other here and then we leave and we go home. We talk every day, or almost every other day. I've told you things. I've shared things with you as a friend, and I do appreciate you, and I do love you.
So that's how his answer to her apology started, and he wasn't finished.
All that being said, and Alex will be the first to admit this to you, what she said yesterday was wrong. It cut deep for me, and it cut deep for a lot of you in the community. I've heard the phone calls, and I've heard the Facebook messages as well. And I guess coming out of this, I want this to be a teachable moment. And that lesson here is that words matter. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, they do. They do matter in some ways. And also context matters. And I think we forgot all of that. I think she's sorry. That's her friend. Whether or not she's going to be fired over that, I don't know. I mean, there's always that possibility in this day and age. I think she said, and I, by the sounds of him, I don't think he wants her fired, right? I don't think he did. If you see the video, he was like, oh my, I can't believe he just said that. And yeah, it was like, whoa. But I also look back and I think now in our present state, is she banished forever? Is that the way things work? Should she never be able to work again? Can we not accept apologies? Can we no longer put context to things? That it was something she said that I'm sure the minute it came out of her mouth, she wanted to put it back in. I don't know. But man, it was, I was shocked. I was like, wait, what? You said that? But she sounded like she was genuinely sorry. But now what? If you're there at station, what do you do? What do you do if you're that station? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Is President Trump, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, are they too old to be president? Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. You can text me as well, 323-538-2423. A lot of people think they are. More than half of Americans believe they're too old to be president. I think 48 is about the wheelhouse, the perfect area, age-wise, of being president. What do you think? Hey, when it comes to costly repairs, let me tell you something. You need options. Option one, you go get a new car. You spend thousands of dollars getting your car fixed when something goes wrong with your transmission. Or door number 3, ding, 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 Car Shield. Car Shield's amazing. They're going to make it easier than ever before to take care of your cover repair. You get 24/7 roadside assistance. You get to choose the shop your car gets taken to. Choose the dealership if you want. They'll get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. And here's the other thing. While your car's being fixed, maybe it takes 3 days. They're going to get you a rental car for free. It is incredible. Maybe your car's got 100,000 miles on it. Don't worry about it. That's what Car Shield's there for. From 5,000 to 150,000 miles, guess what? They will take care of you. $2 billion in claims. That's what they've paid out. They're ready to help you. Call them today. 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson, saves you 10%. Or go to carshield.com, carshield.com. Use that code Benson to save you 10%. They're going to point out all the things you need. Hey, you know what? You're going to want this. You're going to want this. You may not need this. They got any plan for you in the car you have. Call them today. 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
The Conference Board says its Consumer Confidence Index fell to 135.1 in August, down from 135.8 in July, which had been the highest reading since November. That said, economists were expecting a bigger drop, and that despite signs of weakness in the economy, consumers are still willing to spend. They say that's cushioned the effects, so far at least, from trade tensions with China and a global economic slowdown.
Yeah. And that is one of the few things I look at when I look at the financial markets and where we're headed. If our consumer confidence is high, meaning you and I and everybody else out there feel like things are going well, then usually we're going to spend and act accordingly. If we're terrified, if we think the floor is about to drop out, if we think everything is about to just go to hell in a handbasket, we're going to hold our money back, right? And when we don't spend, guess what happens? The economy slows down. So they expected a bigger drop. A bigger drop didn't come. And so not the worst thing. These are little things you look at when you think about. The RV thing is one, and partly because it's disposable income, right? Housing is another, and consumer confidence. And as long as as long as we believe it's good, things are good. Speaking of spending,
Labor Day sales already underway from coast to coast, and if you're looking for a new car, you're in luck. 2020 models will be released in the fall, so experts say right now you can get a great deal on a 2019 model. It's also a good time to shop for major appliances. Best Buy putting that sale price tag on washers, dryers, and stoves 40% off.
Wow, that's huge. Again, we spend dollars. When we spend dollars, we feel comfortable at things. We're buying homes, we're buying cars, we're doing stuff like that. We have a belief it will spur the economy. I still think at some point in time, there's ebbs and flows in everything. We will have good runs, we will have bad runs, right? Watch a sports team every once in a while, like a good team, and we're a good team. What happens? We're going to have some really good winning streaks, and we'll have a few down times, and then we'll have some good winning streaks again. And I think that eventually it will calm down, but I think we're doing all right. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Your useless fact of the day. Rob Peter to pay Paul. Where does it come from? A lot of different origins, but some date back to 1550, saying that the St. Peter's, Westminster, was told, hey, you got to take that money you guys have, and you have to build St. Paul's Cathedral. And they were like, so we're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Yeah, it's a little interesting fact. Have a great rest of your night. Go eat a taco as always. Night, night, Jack.
This is The Chad Benson Show.